If you're anything like me, saving more money is one of your financial goals, and you're either doing great at it or you're failing woefully. Let me tell you a story. So 3 months into the year, I realized that I was slacking when it came to my savings goals, which was like a recipe for disaster, considering the fact that I had just left my parents' house, moved into this new apartment that I'd paid rent for. And if I was to continue on this path, it'll only be a matter of time before I would go broke, have no significant investment, and I will risk getting kicked out of this apartment that I'm thoroughly enjoying. Definitely something I don't want to happen to me. So now I had to find a way to reverse it before it escalated. In some way, somehow, I came up with an idea, and the idea was to challenge myself to live on the least amount I could possibly survive on for an entire month. So I ended up trying to survive on just 500 cedis, which is equivalent to $66 for 30 days. And let me tell you something, it was a bit of a stretch. It was not the easiest thing I had done. But by the end of that experiment, I had found out the steps to take in order for me to be able to save more money. And I'd also found out exactly which part of my new lifestyle was sucking up a good amount of my income. If you want to know how that experiment went, I documented it in a 4-part video, week 1 through to 4, and I'll leave the link to that in the description box so you can check it out. When you mention frugal living or frugality, a lot of people are quick to think about struggling, pinching pennies, starvation, and stuff like that. Which makes sense, but that is not the real definition of frugal living or frugality. Frugal living is avoiding wasteful and extravagant spending so you can give your hard-earned money a more profitable or purposeful assignment to do. If you're going to be working hard for your money, why not try to make the most out of that money? Right? Makes sense. Frugal living is usually for people who are trying to save or accumulate more money in order to invest. And these people are usually willing to live within their means so that in the near future they can experience financial freedom and afford a few more luxuries than the average person. If you are the person I just described, in this particular video I'm going to be sharing with you the steps you can take in order to do frugal living right. Before anything at all, it will be important for you to identify how much your monthly income is and how you are able to stretch it across all the things that are important to you. So if you're the type of person that is already investing, say 10% of their income, and is saving, say 20 or 10% of their income towards emergencies or something along that line, then you are pretty much on the right path. But if you're the type of person that just as you are, your income is not even enough to satisfy all your needs, not your want to, all your needs, and so due to that you're unable to save or invest any part of that amount, then you may have to step back because frugal living is not exactly where you want to start. If you are in that situation, you probably want to consider increasing your income to a point where you are able to save and invest comfortably. Only after you've been able to achieve that can you start putting measures in place in order to be able to save more, in my opinion. But if your goal is to save and invest more than you currently are doing, then let's move on to the next step. The next thing I did was to find out exactly where my income typically goes to. So like in an average month, what am I spending most of my money on? So for example, for me, I'm spending money on food, and food is taking up a good chunk of my money. I'm spending money on transportation because I have to go to work. I have like a regular 8 to 5 job. And I'm also spending a lot of money on data and my upkeep because, gotta look cute or whatever. Then from that point, I had to find out which of these areas I can downsize in order to save more money. And this is a very important step because if you be honest with yourself, you can truly not have enough money. Maybe you can have enough money, but you can always find something to do with your money. That's how come if you get more money in a month than you would get in a typical month, it is still possible for you to exhaust that money as you would in a month where you get a very little amount of money. And in technical terms, it's called lifestyle inflation. So basically, your lifestyle upgrades, for lack of a better word, the same way your income upgrades. If you're spending 2,000 cedis every month and you get a raise at your job and now you're earning about 5,000 a month, your lifestyle gets to a level where 5,000 cedis is just enough for you to get through the month. And in order to reverse that, you have to take a step back, look into your life and look at the areas that are not necessarily important or crucial to your survival. And it is in those areas that you're going to downsize or cut down in order to be able to save and invest more money. So that is what I did. But you also have to be careful in order not to cut out things that are very crucial for your survival, right? Let me give you an example. So when I was doing my downsizing, I had to contemplate on choosing to pay for gym membership or cutting it out completely, because my gym membership is a big price considering how much I was paying previously when I was living with my parents. It was kind of a tough decision to make, but I realized that yes, I could save a few hundreds of cedis every month if I was not paying for like the gym. But I also am that person that I love to lift. If I go to a gym, you hardly catch me doing cardio. I only do cardio when it's like a group class. I enjoy lifting weights and doing strength training because it makes me feel good and it gives me the results I want. So if I was going to cut out the gym, then it meant that I'd have to be able to work out at home. But I don't have all the equipment that I would need, like the dumbbells, the different weights, the different machines that I would need in order to achieve the goal that I want to achieve when it came to my body. So, as you may have guessed, I decided that paying my gym membership and going to the gym every day of the week or every other day of the week was more important than saving those hundreds for my future, which I will not be able to show up at if I'm not healthy and fit in the first place. All this is to say that one person's priority may not be your priority. So look into your life and determine which areas of your life are the most important and are crucial for your survival. Those you can keep, and the ones that are not necessarily important and are just luxuries or just you being extravagant, you can cut down on those areas and save that money. So then we move on to the next step. I think that's step 3. I don't know, I've lost count of the steps. The next thing you want to do is to find out your new projected monthly expenditure, right? So previously you're spending a certain amount of money right here, and you decided that you're going to cut down on some areas of your life in order to save more money. So that will give you a new total because you've taken out some things out of what you typically spend your money on, right? Perfecto. So now you have a new total. And that new total is the amount of money you're going to try to survive on every single month. And that's like your frugal living number. Never heard that, but I'm going to call it your frugal living number. And what's wrong with this child? How can the child is just squealing just like that? So every month your challenge will be to try not to exceed this new average expenditure that you've put out for yourself, so that you'll be able to save more money. If you're strong-willed and you can take it to the next step, you can try as much as possible to not even hit that target, so that even within your new budget you still have change that can go into your savings or your investing. I also like to say that this is very important that you know why you're doing frugal living in the first place. You're not going to be doing frugal living because you saw a random girl on the internet do a frugal living challenge and that has inspired you to do it too. You have to find out why you're doing it, how it's going to help your life long term, and why that is important to you. I believe that finding answers to those particular questions will give you the motivation and the discipline to follow through every single month. Now, from the experiment I conducted, I learned a few things that I think will help you if you are going to be doing frugal living, especially for the first time. I'm going to share these tips with you. If you want to live frugally and save more money, one thing that will make a significant difference is cooking at home or eating at home. There's always food at home. You can always buy food stuff and cook. If you don't know how to cook, you have to learn how to cook if you're trying to save more money. Another thing that I noticed helped is buying stuff in bulk. If you buy your food stuff in bulk, buy your toiletries in bulk, then you may end up saving more money than you would if you buy each of these items like individually, like one. And you also want to be careful that you're not buying way too many things. There are points where the things you're buying are going bad, and this applies to food stuff. Otherwise, you're just wasting money anyway. Then my other frugal living tip is to look out for sales, right? And you're not just looking out for random sales to buy things that you don't necessarily need. Yeah, some people just see sales and go crazy. Like, you don't need the top. You know very well that you have tops in your wardrobe that you're not using, but because these people are having sales, you are going to buy at the top because it may come in handy in the future. Don't do that. Next tip. For this next tip, some of you may not be comfortable or agree with it, and that is fine. I'm going to say anyway. My next tip is to walk more or use public transport more. A lot of us like to Uber. I like to Uber myself around because it's convenient. I don't have to walk miles to get to a junction or a bus stop in order to join a bus or a chotski. But if your goal is to save more money, then you have to be brutal with these things, right? So now I'm walking a lot more, which is healthy for me. If you're being honest, walking is good for me. And that has saved me a lot of money. Hundreds of cedis every other week, which quickly adds up. So if you're trying to save more money and live frugally, definitely cancel the Ubers, delete the app. You can also make it a bit fun for yourself by setting a daily step challenge, so that as you are walking, you know that you are working towards a healthier and more fit body and mind. Another thing that I think will help you is to make sure that you're buying things based on their value as opposed to their price. When you buy this tea roll, don't ask me why there's a tea roll in front of me while I'm filming. But you may buy this tea roll because it's cheap, as opposed to buying one. No, tea roll is not a good example. The other things I would say is make sure you're not impulse buying. Make sure that you're cancelling all your subscriptions that you're not using. Please remember to cancel those subscriptions before the due date. Otherwise, it will fall away. If you're able to implement the steps that I've given you and the tips that I've also added to those tips, you realize that frugal living becomes a lot more enjoyable than most people think it would be, and it even becomes a little bit more rewarding because you know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what future doing this would have for you. And the best part is you're not going to be spending your entire life living frugally. You'll get to a point where you've attained financial freedom, your investments have made enough money and are still making money for you. Since to a point where you can enjoy a few more luxuries and be a little more extravagant than the average person. And that is when you realize that frugal living is truly rewarding. I know that you may have heard all the points and all my tips and may be wondering if frugal living is worth it. And to be honest, I cannot answer that for you, because my answer would be that it depends. It depends on where you currently are as a person. It depends on where you are financially and what your goals are. So are you at a stage in your life where you're trying to save more money in order to be able to invest a little bit more money so that in the near future you'd have the freedom to live the life that you always dream of? Whatever your answer may be to this particular question will determine whether frugal living is worth your while or not. Thank you very much for watching. You can check out my 500 CDs experiment or challenge right here, and I will see you over in this video. Wow. Bye.